Hello, and welcome to Time Warner Cable Media Tunes In to the Multiscreen Customer, a one-to-one media Take 30 webcast. I'm Myla D'Antonio, Editor-in-Chief of One-to-One Media, and your moderator for today's event. Today's speaker is Sean Coar, Group Vice President of Strategy and Business Decisions for Time Warner Cable Media, the local media business of Time Warner Cable. In this role, he oversees strategy and new product development, including IP video platforms, new ventures, and big data initiatives. He also serves as the commercial lead negotiating multi-year partnerships with video and online networks and distributors and structuring vendor agreements. Previously at Time Warner Cable, Sean coordinated the integration of the cable systems from the Adelphia Comcast acquisition, receiving the 2006 TWC Field Service Award. Before joining Time Warner Cable, he held multiple strategy-related roles at the Boston Consulting Group and Time Warner. Welcome, Sean.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
We're glad to have you here. So let's move on to today's agenda. Sean will discuss how Time Warner Cable Media developed an Omni-Screen strategy, including a discussion of critical components and particular challenges, how viewers use their devices and how TV and device consumption habits differ, including time spent on devices, what marketers can learn from the viewing patterns that Time Warner Cable Media has identified, opportunities from an Omni-Screen strategy for marketers, and finally what the future of television holds. So before we begin, let me provide some background. Time Warner Cable Media is the advertising sales division of Time Warner Cable. They provide marketers with strategic and targeted advertising solutions to engage their audiences across a number of networks, websites, and digital platforms. Due to the multi-screen viewing phenomenon, Time Warner Cable Media's clients require targeted marketing and advertising campaigns that resonate with audiences and are measurable. Sean, as you're helping your clients develop multi-screen content that best engages their own audiences, you're seeing the line blur between traditional broadcast TV and online multimedia content as consumers are embracing Omni-Screen digital content. Today's Omni-device customer watches content from any channel on any screen. To help its clients meet this emerging challenge, Time Warner Cable Media developed an all-encompassing Omni-Screen strategy. So Sean, can you describe the process involved when you embarked on this journey, and also did you involve a cross-section of the organization in the development of this strategy?
Sure. So we've been thinking about the Four NEs, what we call the Four NEs for many years now, and that's both from the video product side in terms of providing our Time Warner Cable subscribers with video products, and also from the Time Warner Cable media sales side in terms of providing our advertising partners with advertising solutions across these different products. And as many people are familiar with, the Four NEs are being able to have any content anywhere on any device at any time. Now it's a great graphic, and it sounds and it's easy to remember, but it's very, very difficult to implement. So as we thought about how our subscribers were going to use these different platforms and how we wanted to enable our clients and advertisers to reach people on these different platforms, we had to work very closely with different parts of our organization. Our programming team worked closely with our programming partners, such as the cable networks, to kind of figure out how we were going to deliver these feeds on different platforms. We worked with our engineering department to figure out how we were going to compress and deliver both the content and the advertising on these different platforms and different devices. And then we work closely with our client partners to understand how they wanted to send their message and receive reporting and success metrics and all those other critical business factors on these new platforms. We weren't the first ones there. There have been some successive folks providing solutions on different platforms, but we're one of the few that provide solutions on all these different platforms, and being able to provide solutions which could reach audiences and target audiences in an Omni-Screen environment.
It sounds like a lot was entailed there with that journey.
Definitely, and I think and when you have people go on journeys like this in their organizations, there are a lot of different stakeholders, and being able to work closely with the engineers who are doing really cutting-edge work in terms of figuring out how to insert advertising and live programming, which is running on all these different devices, and then also being able to provide the basic reporting and important reporting to our clients so they have an understanding of is this working, is this going to drive traffic to their website or to their into their place of business.
Yeah, and speaking of that reporting, I know Time Warner Cable Media has conducted studies that has deep insights into the way its audience does view the content. So what are you seeing in the way that the viewers use their devices?
It's still relatively early days, but we've got over 1 million different Time Warner Cable subscribers using these platforms, and we're able to kind of get an insight into the different ways that subscribers are using these different platforms, and the different ways in which our advertisers are getting their message across and delivering their message on these different platforms. I think one of the biggest differences is when people are using the Omni-Screen environments, these different devices. You know, I'm sure it's the same in your own home and in your listener's home, that most of the TV consumption is done before going to work or in the prime time when everybody's at home after dinner. And so it's very lumpy in terms of the distribution of viewership minutes in traditional linear television. On the Omni-Screen platform, there's a lot more snacking. There's a lot more, the viewership is more or less evenly distributed during the day. There's not these big bumps of viewership in the evening. And so that allows for consumers and subscribers to watch video whenever they want, when they've got a half hour here or 15 minutes there. It also allows our advertisers to be able to send their message at a time where they can avoid clutter in prime time, and also be able to send different messages and different copy to reach audiences during different times of the day. So we see the consumption of how they're consuming and when they're consuming is different on these Omni-Screen platforms than kind of the traditional single-screen platform. We're also seeing that the households are different. There's a pretty high penetration of DVR households that are using these applications, and while there's a lot of the evidence is anecdotal, the expectation is that these DVR households will use their DVRs when they're watching on the single screen at home, catching up on their favorite programming. However, on the digital platforms in the Omni-Screen environment, all of the programming is either, most of the programming is live programming, and there is some on-demand programming, and that is not fast-forward enabled. So the differences are that folks that are viewing an Omni-Screen environment are very engaged in the content, and they've gone out and specifically found it because they've got 15 minutes, or even if they've got 3 hours to watch television. And when they're watching it, they're really focused on both the content and on the advertising, because they're watching live or they're watching on-demand content that they've gone out and specifically chosen, versus watching something on a DVR at a later date. Does that make sense? Yes,
it does. I'm also curious, do these new snacking habits then increase the frequency with which they watch the devices? What are you seeing in terms of how much time audiences spend watching across all these devices?
Right, and so that's a great question. And as you would expect, the time spent varies by device. I mean, we're looking at the average session length of around 10 minutes on a phone, like an Android phone or an iPhone, to almost 120 minutes on a connected TV device, like a Roku box or Xbox or something like that. So the biggest driver in terms of session length is the device, and we expect that over time, those will more or less stay the same. We think that that the snacking is great on a small device, waiting in line or waiting at the train station on a Wi-Fi connection, versus when you've got a connected TV in your bedroom or in your den or something like that. There's going to be a longer session length.
speaking of viewing patterns, I know Time Warner Cable Media also recently released some groundbreaking analysis of audience viewing patterns. Can you talk a little bit about some of the important insights that you found from that study and what it means for marketers?
Sure. Some of our resident research experts, the guys that are much, much smarter than me, put together what we've called TV tribes. They've looked at the millions of set-top boxes of data that we have and looked at the relationship between different programming and different viewing habits in order to putting together these TV tribes. For example, one TV tribe is money and politics, which looks at households that spend a lot of time or a significant part of their viewing time watching news on CNN or Fox News and financial programming on CNBC and so on and so forth. And we look at these groups and then we look at them specifically on a DMA by DMA basis to look at the size of the groups in that market and also look at the viewing habits of those groups. And we're finding a lot of similarities in terms of the relationship between the programming of the tribes in the different markets. But then we're also finding some differences, both in terms of the size and in terms of some of the local programming in different markets. And we're able to use these TV tribes as a way to understand the relationship between different programs and how they work together, and also understand how those tribes vary by geography. And when we work with our advertising clients, we're able to help them figure out, for national clients, able to figure out how should they augment their national buy with a targeted local buy, which understands the peculiarities and the uniqueness of viewership in that market. And then for some of our local clients, that once they understand that the person that they would normally reach on CNN, we can also reach them on CNBC or on Bloomberg, that we would figure out how to put a package together to reach that audience not only in some of the programming you expect them to be in, but also in programming that you might not have expected to be in, so they're able to kind of reinforce the message.
It sounds like that type of those insights represent a lot of opportunities for marketers. Can you talk about some of the other opportunities that you see Omni-Screen strategies representing for marketers and advertisers?
Sure. I mean, I think the biggest difference in the Omni-Screen environment is the technology and the data, and that allows for a higher level of what we call dynamic ad insertion, which is a technology that enables an addressable advertising. So we really like these environments because from an advertising point of view, there's a huge amount of engagement. When a subscriber or a family goes and searches through all the content available and finds content that they really, really want, they're really, really engaged with that content, whether it's on the subway platform or the train platform or it's in the den. There's a level of inherent engagement when you're using these applications. And then that is, you're adding on to that the ability to put the right message in front of the right household, so that if Pampers or a drugstore is doing a sale on Pampers wants to reach families with children, with young children, we're able to find programming that over-indexes in that demographic, or we can actually be able to deliver the messaging just to households that meet that demographic profile. So the ability on these Omni-Screen platforms, due to the technology to be able to deliver these messages, is a great opportunity for marketers and advertisers. And second, they provide so much feedback data in terms of the relationships between the different programming that it allows us to learn on what messages resonate and where people are watching and consuming television. Again, our largest client, for lack of a better word, for marketing services is Time Warner Cable itself. And so we work closely with the marketing department here at Time Warner Cable to work with them to figure out how we can leverage these platforms, both in terms of the learnings and in terms of the addressability, to help them promote cable and messaging associated with cable and high-speed data and home security and home intelligence and all those other products.
It's definitely an exciting time to be a marketer, for sure.
Absolutely.
So I'd like to conclude with a question about the future. What's next for Time Warner Cable Media, and how do you envision the future of television?
A nice, easy question. I would say that in the near term, we're really focused on understanding the data that we do have and being able to use it closely with our clients and our internal stakeholders to be able to deliver better viewing products and viewing services for our subscribers, and being able to deliver the best advertising solutions for our clients. And what are we doing in the next 6 months or the next 18 months is we're kind of building the technology delivery platforms and the business rules associated with those platforms to be able to deliver those solutions. So there's not a particular product on the horizon. It's much more of an evolution. There's a lot of conversations around big data and big data being able to provide big changes. But in my experience is, yes, we can use big data to create big changes, but it's always in small steps. And so we're taking the small steps, many small steps, in order to be able to provide better video solutions for our subscribers and advertising solutions for our clients.
Great. Well said, Sean. Thank you so much for joining us today. This concludes Time Warner Cable Media Tunes In to the Multiscreen Customer, a one-to-one media Take 30 webcast. On behalf of the entire team, thanks for attending and have a great day.